For some reason here I'm also not GPU or CPU bound. But my FPS is not going up. That feels like they added FPS cap for some reason. Neither CPU nor GPU bound, guys. What the fuck's going on here? FPS is about the same, which my guess is they've improved CPU utilization. Why am I neither CPU nor GPU bound? Run into one or the other unless there's an FPS cap in the background or the code shit. I don't think there's code shit because it used to be we were CPU bound. My Cmax is basically the highest level core, or the highest utilized core. And it's sitting at 75%. Probably closer to 80 from what it looks like on the left side here. What is going on? Is it trying to only use 8 cores? Because my overall CPU utilization is about 50%. That's now it's split up across all 16 cores. Uh-oh, Scoobs. They de-optimized their game for 8-core CPUs? Why is my CPU utilization lower, guys? Cmax isn't, by the way. Well, Cmax is, but overall CPU utilization is around 50%. Why? Why? By the way, I don't have hyperthreading or SMT on. I have a 16-core processor that is legitimately 50% utilization. Some games try to be smarter than they are, and are not aware of whether or not you turn hyperthreading / SMT on or off. And then they do dumb things. Cyberpunk did this, by the way. They do dumb things where they try to be smarter than whatever is going on in your system. Because there are some CPUs that do not have hyperthreading or SMT, putting aside me turning it off. But it looks like it's trying to... it's assuming that it probably have hyperthreading on. And it's running closer. I mean, we could test this by restarting my computer with SMT on, which I don't like doing. Time sync. And then see what the utilization sits at. And my Cmax. Which Cmax isn't as useful because it's not split up for hyperthreaded cores for virtual cores. There's a patch today, by the way. The patch is about an hour ago. Totally called this thing. I put up a Twitter post yesterday saying I was reassessing what was going on. And I think things are changing. There's going to be difficulty. I'm pretty sure there is going to be a difficulty change here. I'm probably getting ahead of myself, so probably first we should address the video I made yesterday. Yesterday I made a video about there being a streamer difficulty in the game, which I still think exists in some form. However, it is not as egregious as I thought it was. For some strange reason, the shield prevents knockback and CC effects for Zerg / Tyranid / Bugs, but does not for robots. So if you get shot by the robots, you'll get flung across the map, which is, of course, happening to me because I always play with the shield pack with robots, and the laser dog for the bugs for the most part. Yeah, so I didn't know that it prevents all CC from the bugs, which doesn't make sense. In terms of balancing, the shield pack probably should just prevent or not prevent melee damage is what it should come down to. So it prevents ranged attacks, but not close quarters. It'd be a good way of balancing it and make it more risky for people getting close to you. And maybe that would also allow you to more specialize the ballistic shield and maybe turn it into a kinetic barrier. So something that prevents CC effects, right? It gives you more anti-CC capabilities. I think would be a good niche for it. So it makes you less of a movable object as a shield would. A physical shield would. Because it's mass, as opposed to, by the way, realism is not a balancing mechanic, but you can use creativity from creative aspects from realism to augment a game. In the case of a shield, for instance, it would allow you more mass, and then maybe you wouldn't get staggered. You can make up whatever excuse you want. And they honestly should make it. They should redo the way the shield looks and make it more like a energy barrier, like maybe add like energy outlines on it or something around the edges. I said they should probably make it more like a Reinhardt shield, but the shield is very difficult to balance. It's very, very niche. Stratagem, isn't it? It shouldn't even be a stratagem. Just replace your primary. Actually, no. No, that'd just make it way too niche. Right now, it's very... it doesn't have a niche. Okay, so maybe make like an energy outline on it. More like, I guess like Briggs Shield in Overwatch? Yeah. Instead of this, I don't know what this is. You could even make it adaptive if you wanted to, where you're getting shot from a certain angle, and then it like kind of like, if you ever played Crisis where it has like the hexagons where it goes like that off to the side, it actually would be really cool. Because this is a sci-fi game, there's all sorts of interesting kind of borderline magic slash sci-fi you can do to the game to make it actually a lot cooler than it currently is. So like if you're getting shot from a certain angle, it actually extend itself to protect that angle that you're getting shot from. Would actually be very cool. We're getting ahead of ourselves though. Like I was talking about the video. So, okay. The video yesterday, I thought something was fucking wrong after I played against a Zerg, and it seemed like the fucking shield pack was doing... It has like an extra 200% health, so it basically makes your health 3x. I swear to God, it does not do that for the automatons. Anyways, it was really fucked up because I was playing with the shield pack at the end, and it just did not make sense. Apparently, CC effects protect you against the Zerg, but does not protect you against the Necrons. If you guys are curious about that, so... for some strange reason, the anti-CC only works on the Zerg, but not on the Necrons. No idea why. You'll still get flung around like a ragdoll against the Necrons. Very, like, it's one of those things that's part of it that doesn't really make sense. But I was watching it, so things that still don't make sense from the video yesterday, guys, was Pirate Software getting fucking staked, which we looked at. He didn't have a shield pack on, he should have died. I watched the stream yesterday, and it definitely seemed like there's fucking weird things going on. So, on Monday, I think after I finished streaming, which I finished streaming about 12 p.m., I think they changed the difficulties for the Zerg. Or maybe even a little bit before that, because we're all over the place, and forming a baseline when you're just looking at observations takes a little bit, right? So I think they changed on Monday, so 2 days ago, they changed the difficulty as far as everything goes. I think they made projectiles less likely to hit you. The Zerg are less aggressive, as we're seeing here. We're going to play more of this tonight. I played a game off stream yesterday, just to make sure fucking Paul or Logan or whatever the fuck his name is isn't fucking with me. I played a game, I did a quest chain, so I did 3 missions yesterday off stream, and it definitely seems as though the amount of spawns you're getting are a lot less in Diff 9, and it seems as though they're a lot less aggressive. Not the AI is less aggressive, it's less likely to attack you. I think they're preparing for higher difficulties to be added to the game. And part of this goes into the fact that there's a patch that just happened literally an hour ago. And I mentioned that. I mentioned that things felt off on Monday. This is not in the patch notes, but I'm pretty sure they readjusted and retooled the difficulties for probably an entry of higher difficulties in the game. So my guess is Diff 9 is probably going to be about Diff 13, and there's probably going to be a Diff 15 that's going to be added. and maybe probably even higher into the future. We'll see. But right now, it feels like they retooled the difficulties on Monday, which really threw me off because I was watching their streams and they're clearly not taking aggro or getting hit when they should be getting hit. Putting aside the fact that I did watch Pirate Software and he gets hit by chargers, he played a couple games without the shield pack and just bitched up a storm about hunters. He has a problem with hunters because hunters eat a lot of damage and they actually overwhelm your there's certain weapons, guys, as a descriptor here, guys. Certain weapons fire a lot slower than other weapons. This means if a mob takes a certain number of shots to kill, it becomes very difficult to kill a horde of them because you don't have enough shots. You're going to run out of ammo, you're going to run into RPM limits. You're going to run into the fact that you are not able to dish out enough bullets in a short enough amount of time. It doesn't even matter whether or not the amount of damage you're doing. You're just not going to be able to do enough rounds per minute. And this is where assault rifles would come in. Or when you see me fighting against, like, getting overwhelmed by hunters, which are never a problem for me, I pull out my pistol. If it's like I start getting slowed and gangbanged, I pull out my pistol and I start shooting with my pistol because the pistol works a lot better. It's one of the reasons I'm using this thing instead of this thing or this thing, even though you potentially could use this because it has a higher capacity and it looks like it does... Oh, they changed the damage. This used to do more damage. Well, they fixed... That wasn't in the patch notes, by the way. The Redeemer used to do more damage than the Peacemaker, at least according to the stats. They might not even be attached to the game files, by the way. These might just be flavor stats, i.e., all this is custom written code. This is not actually attached to how they're balanced in the game. This is someone that goes in here and types 6-0, and it has no more meaning other than a visual cosmetic. It should be attached to the game files, but it's probably not. Redeemer used to do more damage than the Peacemaker. I don't know when they changed this, by the way, because I don't look at the pistols, but this is now changed, and I talked about just using this in single shot. I don't use this because it burns through ammo too fast. It has a bigger capacity, though. And depending on how the handling goes, you probably could actually just use the Redeemer on single shot as opposed to the Peacemaker. But yeah, the reason I use this over like a Magnum or this is because you can use it usually to three-tap the hunters. So you can basically shoot, like you'll see me shoot like 2 or 3 rounds into something. Usually 2 rounds first and then a 3rd round if it doesn't die. Yeah, so like 5 hunters just with this pistol, just with 1 mag. And it allows me to, usually when I'm playing against a Zerg, to save. I have a capacity of 15 shots here, and if they're just going to eat a bunch of bullets, there's like different balancing in the game. It's not always health pools. It seems like it's related to locational-based damage, like in the case of the Charger, as opposed to overall health. It might have an overall health pool, but it's huge. Locational-based damage, and some units just take more shots. They take a certain number of shots themselves, so it doesn't matter what you're shooting at them. It just has to hit it a certain number of times to basically deflect it, make it dumb or whatever, stun it before you kill it. It's a different way of balancing things, and it adds more flavor to the game. I'm not against it in any way, shape, or form. Watch Pirate Software, though. He's bitching up a storm about hunters. He apparently just dies to him, but he can't figure out how to pull out his pistol and shoot them, so he just constantly uses the breaker and freaks out, despite the fact that he has apparently not stalkers, hunters. Not stalkers, hunters. Stalkers are the things that fuck you in the ass when they show up. And that's why you got to kill them with impunity. But he was just complaining about the stalkers and having a generally very bad time. But Monday, guys, on Monday when I was watching their stream, they were clearly not taking damage to things they were. Case in point, like I was looking through his past videos, I was like, okay, maybe the weekend they changed something to Monday, right? So I was doing all this off stream. It's like, okay, maybe on the weekend something different happened. I looked at his stream on the weekend, 5 days ago. This is Saturday, I believe. On the weekend, check this out.
Away from that giant red beam, it will kill.
That's a 500 kg, legitimate right there. He just walks towards it, doesn't even notice it. Right there, it's on the ground right in front of him, doesn't even notice it. Like I said, there's something fucking really weird. It could be, in this case, maybe it landed right in the hole and as such it saved him. But he's just, yeah, I thought he was doing this for BM to blow up the hole before the 500 kg did. I just don't think he even noticed what's going on here. This is one of the, like, this is Diff 9 once again. This is one of the things that threw me off. Because, like, what the fuck is even going on here? It legitimately just explodes behind him. He just gets a little bit knocked down. He doesn't even have a shield pack on, by the way. So it did hit him because he gets knocked down. This is why I still think there is a streamer mode in the game. It's just not protecting CC effects when you have the shield pack on. He gets whiplashed right there and slowed. You can see the slow on him. got hit by a 500 kg at about 10 feet away. He didn't he can't run either because he got slowed. And did do damage to him because you can see him get knocked over by it, but it clearly did not kill him. Look at his health too. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there is actually a streamer mode in the game, but it is not. It does not operate. And listen to the dialogue, by the way. Listen to this dialogue.
From that giant red beam, it will kill you.
I got the samples. I got the samples.
I don't even know where they are. Please don't let me on fire.
He has a abs. By the way, he absolutely uses like a bass boost on his microphone, like hardcore. You hear him touch his mic, it's like bong.
Oh god, your guys' bullets are all around me.
Stand away from that giant red beam, it will kill you.
Okay,
Oh.
I'm getting out the corner because I have no grenades anymore.
I think I survived somehow.
You did. How did you survive that?
So what?
Good question, developers. Good question. How the fuck did he survive that? Yeah, so this was on Saturday, so I was like, okay, maybe Monday. There's still clearly stuff that is broken here, guys, or that's not working properly. Or he has some sort of special streamer privilege, streamer mode, streamer privilege. So, like, I was wrong yesterday, but not completely wrong, and I wasn't completely off the mark. There is definitely something going on. He died on Tuesday. Arrowhead is very active in the community, and they have their little feelers out. I forgot what they're called in Game of Thrones, like the little children that the creepy old bald guy has. Yeah, they have their feelers out in the community, and maybe they kind of toned it down a bit, but yeah. He didn't even take damage from this, by the way. Just gets knocked over. He's legitimately 10 feet away, and it did hit him because it knocked him over. So we do know it actually interacted with the character, was not blocked by line of sight. I don't know. Like I said, they definitely seem to have toned it down a bit because I was actually watching his stream. And he was getting flung around, which of course pissed him off, and he's getting ragey because he's dying to stalkers, as he should. Not stalkers, hunters. He has a lot of problems with hunters. As he should. When they start mobbing you, you should actually fucking die to them. But yeah, like I actually rewinded and I was watched a little bit on Saturday because I was like, hey, maybe it's something new that's happening on Saturday, right? Like, it is, like, the staking that I showed you guys where he legit gets hit by a fucking stake from the BT, from the Vile Titan. Yeah, but this is another one. This is another one that you can't really go, oh, this didn't happen, or oh, there's no interaction here, or oh, maybe it was just weird line of sight. I mean, he is legit just staring down a 500 kg, and he doesn't even know it. He's like maybe 10 feet away from it. Kills all the bugs around him, by the way. You see the giant horde of just dead bugs. All the fucking dead bodies that just appeared. Yeah, so yeah, this is tough. This is very difficult to argue that, oh, he didn't get hit. They didn't even know. There's like, how'd you not die? Yeah, good question. Arrowhead, how did he die? Because he clearly got hit by it. And I understand this guy has a shitload of people watching him, but Diff9 should be Diff9. It shouldn't be streamer Diff9. It should be Diff9, right? And this is putting aside the fact I think they rebalanced on Monday. I believe they changed the difficulty levels. I believe they retooled the difficulty levels on Monday. We haven't played extensively with the automatons, so that's going to take some. We're going to do tonight the Zerg because that's most people play against the Zerg. I normally try to do the automatons because no one's doing it, but no one's playing against, or everyone's playing against the Zerg, so you need to have comparison points of people playing against the Zerg, right, as a baseline. But was watching this, just clearly this is on Saturday. Clearly got hit by it. On Monday, I do think they retooled the difficulty because I played off stream when Joel wasn't watching me. I played off stream and basically the amount of drop-ins I got, the aggressiveness of the horde was basically about the same as what these guys are getting. I watched Baru yesterday, so Tuesday, not today, Wednesday. I watched Baru yesterday on Tuesday, and he was just like, they would just form like this horseshoe shape around them and just sit there, like they wouldn't attack him. It was fucking weird. Once again, just like he's like the fucking monster whisperer thing going on there. And then he ran out of ammo or just didn't care, and he just started running up and meleeing him. Yeah, and it took forever before they actually attacked him and killed him. So I still think there is some sort of weird ass fucking streamer dev mode in here, or streamer difficulty mode in here, but it's they toned it down on Tuesday, but it is still pretty egregious. So yeah, like this is just like where we watched him get staked on Monday. Legit watched him get staked. There's no other way, and then he ran into the stake and just sat there and just kept running into it and didn't die. On Monday. Tuesday, I think I actually watched him get staked like a couple times, so it was actually normal. But Monday was not normal. This is Saturday, also was not normal. Tuesday, so yesterday, better, but still weird shit happening, where he's getting hit by chargers. Baru was actually finally getting fucking hit by chargers. He was getting butt bumped too, which if you don't watch out for the butt bump, they run up to you, they knock you down, and if they're close to you, they go boop on the side, and it throws you all around and does damage to you. Yeah. Actually started getting hit by the abilities, but there was clearly, and still clearly, some sort of streamer difficulty in the game. But in addition to this, I also think they have adjusted the difficulty on Monday. And my guess is that's in preparation for newer difficulties they're adding. My guess is maybe this week on Friday, right before the weekend goes, or next week after they give it, like, depending if they set an arbitrary baseline. They might do it on the weekend, so this Friday, so people have something new to play. Higher difficulties for people to play, but it might also be that they're waiting a week just for the patch to settle in, which happened maybe 2 hours ago at this point. Waiting for the patch to settle in. Yeah, just like there's no shield pack here, guys. There's no way to make this up. You just literally ate a 500 kg and survived. Yeah. And like I don't want to even cover this shit purely because this is a co-op game and because like this shouldn't even exist. Like, these guys aren't cheating. They aren't going out of the way. I think there's shenanigans from Arrowhead doing this. Yeah, you see a bunch of bugs like swinging at people too, and they don't get hit by it, or they get almost a minimal amount of damage, unless they really get hit hard. It doesn't. There's some sort of weird fucking modifier operating in the background. But anyways, this is what threw me off, and I didn't really understand. Well, now this isn't what threw me off. There is I'm pretty sure they lowered the difficulty of Diff 9 on Monday. So there's a newer difficulty for Diff 9. It's lower. It's somewhere, I'd say, around maybe 7 now. 6 or 7. Basically is what I said on yesterday, and I still think it is about 6 or 7. It's just the information I had available to me is now different. So Diff 9, I believe, is now Diff 6 or 7. And I believe they're going to add more difficulties. Probably 12 is going to be the new Diff 9. Maybe 11 will be the new Diff 9, and then they're going to add maybe a Diff 15, so it'll climb even higher than Diff 9. But the game I was playing yesterday towards the end of the stream was clearly not the same game that it was the day before, or even the weekend. The weekend was fucking terrible. It was ridiculous. The weekend was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. But patch note-wise, which we're going to cover here in a second, but yeah, that 500 kg, guys, just if you can look at it yourself, the timestamp's up there. But just, that was on Saturday, and yeah, like I said, Baru had the same thing happen. I just happened to catch this one when I was watching it. He had more stuff happen yesterday, but his stream, his VOD is too far behind where the actual live content is, and I didn't fucking timestamp it. Yeah, like I had 2 other ones yesterday, which is Tuesday. But as far as Helldivers 2 goes, guys, they had a new patch, which is probably here, yes, and there's a bunch of balancing. Weirdly enough, they didn't touch stuff that I thought they're going to touch, which is also kind of weird. But we're going to cover this here. And for the patch notes, kind of curious what's going on here. Maybe we'll actually experiment and see if they adjusted the way that the game deals with CPU load. Because once again, it seems to normalize around 50%. Which would probably indicate the game is probably trying to be HT, SMT aware. Not doing a super amazing job though, because what really matters is your core max. It doesn't matter overall utilization. Core max of 1 core or 2 virtual cores that are the same physical core is what matters. Actually, no, both matter. Overall CPU utilization also matters because your system can use the other cores. Once again, the game shouldn't be on C1 and 0, or C1 and 2, depending on how you want to look at it. So core 0, core 1 basically should be the OS, because the OS has some static stuff that runs on core 0 and 1. You can use them, it just shouldn't put everything onto them. It also looks like this was adjusted, I don't know when. I believe this used to do 81 damage instead of 60. I don't know when this changed because I don't look at pistols regularly. It also just has a bigger magazine. I don't even know if it matters. Recoil's different. I haven't really extensively used the SMG pistol because it just burns through ammo and then you don't have anything. We're going to cover the patch notes here though, guys, and I'll probably make a highlight about it. Yeah, I privated the video from yesterday because I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. The one thing that's glaringly wrong is shield packs will prevent CC effects from Zerg, but not from automatons. Not sure why. I have no idea why. That's fucking weird. We're going to go over the patch notes here, guys. And probably make a highlight out of it. One thing I don't like about my laptop, guys, is my mouse just sometimes goes all over the place. No idea why. Hate that. And I've tried to tweak it. I've tried to change the mouse drivers. This does not... It has some sort of weird... Someone said, like, a red thread said it had a grounding issue, which may be correct. Okay. We'll see if it covers everything. So originally they released patch notes on the Reddit, and it looks like they increased it. Originally did not have values. They changed that. They added values, which actually do matter. I think they're figuring out whether or not they wanted to leave it vague and let you figure it out, or they wanted to actually give you numbers so you can theorycraft off of it. Let's see. A lot of these things, by the way, I was looking at it, actually are things we talked about and discussed and things that were needed. Many players, so this goes hand in hand with them changing the difficulty. Diff 9, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's Diff 6 and 7, as opposed to what it was. It's not that, it seems like they toned down the number of spawns, but it's mainly the aggression of the AI is different than what it used to be, as well as damage. And the width of getting hit by projectiles is different now, too. And from the Bile Titan, the Corrosive Beetles, the artillery from the Corrosive Beetles all seems to be different now, and that happened on Monday. Once again, something they don't actually talk about here. It seems like the PvE balancing aspects of the bugs is something they don't really discuss when they change it, because it constantly changes, and then they have mutators on top of it, where some bugs have a lot more health. I've had chargers that turn on a dime, stuff like that. There's 100% mutators on bugs, and they change and have more variability and different things they do, because it makes them different. It makes it feel different, like when you're playing against them. Anyways, in addition to them dropping, this was not in the patch notes, by the way, and it's something I'm theorizing, but I'm pretty sure, in addition to them dropping difficulty from 9 to 6 to 7, there's now hazards, many additional environmental challenges that will appear. We know this is on Monday, by the way. Another reason I know they changed stuff on Monday was there was new tiles. The tiles are the little modular aspects that are around the procedurally generated map. The tiles are like the booby bug holes they have now, single bug holes, retooled nests. They've been changing it all through like the week. They've been constantly changing the bugs, or just stuff in general. They retooled there's now like huge nests. They really need to reclassify stuff. There's like a big nest and there's like a huge nest now, which is like two big nests like encompassed inside of each other, which they added last week sometime. There's a bunch of stuff that's changing, but on Monday they changed it. It also looks like they changed the lighting. Yesterday, I would say, so Tuesday, it feels like they changed the lighting. Now things are more atmospheric. It's more like Battlefront at nighttime, which is actually kind of cool, but also sometimes it gets too dark, which is one of the reasons you don't do it in the first place. But depending on how long the mission is, it's not that big of a deal. But the lighting is more prevalent now and looks better. That happened Tuesday, I would say. And that, once again, stuff that's not in the patch notes. Today's Wednesday, as you can see down there. So Tuesday, yesterday, they changed the lighting. I immediately noticed it when I played my non-Joel-infested game yesterday. And then I was watching other people's streams. The lighting is definitely different and more prevalent than it used to be. It also makes things look more atmospheric and beautiful sometimes. Very cool. But in addition to that, there's now planetary hazards. Once again, there's just stuff that they've been adding in general. This This is a PvE element they're actually telling us about, probably because it's very easy to notice. So this is actually in the patch notes. Fire tornadoes, meteor showers, and many more. Cool. I'm all for that. Once again, this could also be why they reduce the difficulty, so you have environmental difficulty that's more prevalent. It also makes me think they're going to change this in the future and make the environmental effects more prevalent as well, because you have things like the heat effects, once again, that don't really seem to make that big of a difference, but might. Same thing with broken limbs. I'm pretty sure they're trying to figure out how hard they want to make the difficulty for just playing the game, like just existing, the survival aspect of the game. So if you break a limb right now, you can just fix it all with a stim, right? But they could clearly change it, because it's almost like a no-brainer. You just get a broken limb, you just hit a stim, right? They might change it so you have to use a different item or something else, and then you have to deal with a broken limb if it actually becomes too overbearing. So once again, the survival aspect. Eradicate missions, these are the ones where people are farming since the beginning of the game. It's one of the reasons level 50 doesn't even matter. They've tweaked them probably 2 times already in terms of difficulty, and it looks like they did a 3rd balance pass on them. Eradicate missions now require more kills and enemies to spawn more often. This time to complete the mission was previously shorter than intended and should now usually take twice as long to complete. So they're still doing balancing passes on this. We covered this. I had a Twitter post literally from the first week talking about how they need to turn them off until they change them, or put them third list, the third part of the chain, as like kind of a reward. We do it as the 3rd one because it's easier, right? If they make it too hard, we won't do them though. But anyways, you do it as the 3rd one in the chain because it's short and sweet, and it's an extra reward for people, and they stick around for it. And yes, someone else made a post on that 2 weeks after I did that, so on Reddit, which trended. Always ahead of the curve, guys. Almost too much so, apparently, according to yesterday. Balancing. So they've done a balancing pass, not on all weapons, just some of them, and they don't actually have the... There we go. Yeah, so they had a post in the actual Reddit here. This is the first round of a never-ending series of balancing patches and balancing changes, and we believe it's important to be completely transparent about our approach to game balance, especially when it comes to weapons and stratagems that you have strong opinions about. Our goal is to give you a wide range of weapon choices. That's very good. We talked about how it's basically a waste of acid, time, and money if they have stuff that's not actually balanced because you can't use it. Essentially, you can't use it. You can say what you want about just doing things that feel fun, but fun gets you killed, so. And then being dead because you tried to have fun is not fun. It actually is the opposite. It actually discourages you from trying to have fun in the first place. Our goal is to give you a wide range of weapon choices where each gun has its purpose, none strictly better than another. Sure, you'll have your own favorite, but it should come from your personal preference, not from universally agreed knowledge of which gun is strongest. Meta. Generally, by the way, I watched Pirate Software say there's no meta in the game. Okay. Okay, bud. That was another one, yeah. You got it. Sure, you'll have your own favorite, but when it comes to personal preference, not should be universally agreed knowledge which is the strongest, i.e. meta. Generally, we balance each item according to its quirks, so if a weapon is very effective, pros and cons. We talked about this on stream. It's very important for every game, not just this one. In terms of balance, you have pros and cons. And if something's just an all-rounder, it's a jack of all trades, ace of none, meaning it doesn't excel at anything. And it shouldn't, and I don't care what the jack of all trades, ace of none, something, don't give a shit about, you fuck off. Because balancing-wise, if you're good at everything, then it means that there's no reason to use any of the other weapons that have quirks, patina on them. It should come with significant disadvantages to balance its power. Yes, like Zenyatta. Yeah, and we're in Overwatch. Yeah, when they had healers that had a trade-off where they did less healing, but they do more damage and debuff, like Zenyatta. Yeah, there's trade-offs for him. Not Season 9 Zenyatta, by the way. There's trade-offs for that. Yeah, there always should be trade-offs if you have a power spike. If you look at, like, let's say you have, like, on RPGs, you have the balancing for attributes, right? You go in a certain way, then it pulls away from another attribute to make you spiky in this one area. You could do that, and very easily do that with you could put whatever you want on a spike curve or on like a pentagram or octagon or how many sides you want to have, and then it pulls away from the weighted aspect of another and into another category, into another category, into another category, right? But it pulls away from other aspects. It's just good game balance in general. It's fucking weird how we're, like 40 years into decently made video games, 30 years into decently made video games, and people don't understand how to balance stuff. Like, there's trade-offs, pros and cons, right? pros and cons, the most basic form. A more advanced form is where you have, like, you pulling away from different aspects on it. If it's very effective at what it does, it should come with significant disadvantages to its power. Yeah, that's why I criticized the railgun. You can say what you want about everything being as balanced as the railgun, or as powerful as the railgun, but the railgun is just good at everything. The railgun got nerfed, by the way. The AC-8 autocannon is a good example of a well-balanced weapon. It packs a powerful punch, has very good range, but requires you to carry an ammo backpack or a friend to assist you. The friend doesn't get to carry a backpack. GL21 is a good opposite example. It's a good general-purpose weapon. It's a good crowd cleaner. It's not a good general-purpose weapon. It sucks against armor. That gives you a lot of flexibility. It obviously deals too much damage without becoming overpowered. Obviously can't deal too much damage without being overpowered. In the case of the grenade launcher, it's not good against armor at all. Best weapons that are both versatile and become a no-brainer choice. The weapon selection phase, it robs you of your own agency. Yep. It has autonomy, also. As stale meta builds force you to make an unfair choice between fun weapons and an effective one. In short, powerful weapons can't be too versatile. Versatile weapons get jack of all trades, ace of none. Once again, you go back to whatever you want to weight the weapons, right? Weight and balance the weapons, pulling around on your little chart here. You know, whatever aspects you want to put on here, damage, armor penetration, ergonomics, or just, you know, like handling. One might make you slower or faster, backpack, you know, utility items, pulling away from different things. You can make an actually better, well thought out system for balancing, pulling away from one into another. Having said that, with analyzing player feedback and data we've collected over the past month, we've found the biggest offenders in principle. Literally exactly everything I said. Breaker, railgun, gen pack. Yep. And those are all three that need to be addressed. All three of those were quite strong, with two little downsides overshadowing all other options on higher difficulty levels. So with this patch, we're getting significant downsides to balance their power. However, we strongly believe that change won't ruin this build, but rather help affected items find their place among other options today. So the gen pack, which we're going to cover here in a second, I don't think they go into straight numbers, i.e. the amount of damage it can absorb, the amount of defense, the amount of HP it gives you, the amount of damage it does. I think should be kind of tertiary or secondary to being able to balance it in other ways. In the case of the generator backpack, I mentioned earlier that they should have made it so melee doesn't go through it, or melee goes through it. So anytime you get meleeed, it goes through the shield, but it protects you against ranged attacks. So it's like a kinetic barrier, right? It protects you against ranged attacks, but if they get close, they're going to slice you through the middle. You get staked, you're dead. One of those things, right? You turn into giblets when you get staked, as it should be, unless you're a streamer that's playing in streamer mode. You can't. There's no way, guys. I don't care. I don't care what kind of negative reaction that clip gets yesterday. You know, like, I might have been wrong about the CC, because weirdly enough, the shield backpack protects you against CC against the Zerg, but not against the automatons. I don't have no idea why, but it does. Also, the shield backpack shouldn't protect you against CC. It should only protect you against kinetic, basically, or ranged weapons in general. Not just kinetic, ranged weapons in general. Kinetic would be ballistic. And laser technically is not kinetic. Crosa's spit technically wouldn't be kinetic, right? You can make arguments for that, so we aren't going to do that. Just range stuff. Yeah. So yeah. But downside, shield backpack, I think, is you should be able to get meleeed through it, and it shouldn't have anti-CC. I think the anti-CC should be given to the ballistic shield as a way, and there could be also all sorts of cool ways you could balance out the ballistic shield. It depends on the programming level, what their programmers are capable of to bring, you know, creative freedom to life, sort of thing. In addition to what they actually want to turn the ballistic shield into. The ballistic shield right now is basically a clean slate. It doesn't really have a purpose. It just kind of sucks, which means it has an option to become something much better than it currently is. The gen backpack's just better than the shield backpack, so why would you use the shield backpack, right? Or the ballistic shield. There isn't really a reason to use it. But once again, I think one of the last things you should go to when balancing, not one of the last things, is very important, but it's like a baseline thing that removes a lot of flavor from whatever you're doing. It's very hard. I call it hard balancing, or basically just hard balancing instead of opposed to soft balancing. Hard balancing is attacking the DPS, attacking the damage a weapon's doing, or the HP, the defense it gives you, right? Just right off the bat, just going straight to that. In my personal opinion, you have your damage numbers, but then you also have your flavor that's sprinkled on the weapons, right? In the case of the shield backpack, it's a shield, right? And then how would you want to make a shield that's like a force field that's different from a physical shield, right? And then you have little sprinkle elements in there. But the shield backpack doesn't have any sprinkle elements. It's just good at everything. It's just an additional HP pool. So it just tacks on more shield that then just regens onto your body. Why would you use anything other than that? There's not really reason to, right? But you could make up reasons to use this and not to use this, and why some people would prefer it and they wouldn't. It'd still be really good when you're playing against the automatons, let's say, which does make sense. But at the same time, you could also, you know, the automatons do have the chainsaw sword guys, right? Which would then become much more brutal when they actually get near you. They have a couple guys that use melee. Not as much as the Zerg, but they do, right? It'd still be useful, but it'd be much less useful. There's ways of balancing this out. On a more personal note, I know your friend having your favorite toy nerfed absolutely sucks. It does. We talked about exactly this, how people wanted everything buffed to the level of the breaker, the railgun, and the shield backpack. They want it buffed to that level, and the reason they want it buffed to that level is because it sucks when you're playing meta or you're playing something you lose that power, right? That makes you feel good, right? Yeah, it does suck. I 100% understand that. That's also why, like, even though I'm not for everything there's a lot of things that need to be buffed. The railgun and the breaker, the shield backpack, they're just ahead of everything else. Like, I was using the slugger, I was using the explosive shotgun. The plasma gun was very close to the breaker and probably is basically on par with it now. So the reason I use the slugger over the plasma gun is because A, you can't kill yourself with the slugger. That's a skill issue. But the reason I use it is because it staggers medium-sized enemies, which can be fucking huge. And occasionally it's very accurate. It does have some weird quirks with the accuracy, which we've talked about extensively, especially when it gets me killed, as you can imagine. But there's alternate weapons that do work. The basic assault rifle that comes with the game that you start with is actually very good. It just blows through ammo very fast. Investing countless hours into mastering a weapon, which is incredible dedication from you, which is the main reason we're making this game in the first place, and then having that weapon weakened feels like a punishment for being too good at the game. I get it. Like, they're trying to soften the blow here, but I implore you not to compare the change with its older version, but to evaluate existing one as it sees it still has your place in your heart. Yes, I completely agree. Thank you for dedication, commitment, and the surrender democracy, blah, 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 blah. Edit, blah, 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 blah. And then they added balancing notes here. So, we will go over the damage numbers here in a second, but first we're going to take a look at the more vague notes that they had prior to adding the damage numbers. Actually, it looks like they just have damage numbers here. In the post on the Discord, they had just vague notes first. Let's see. Anyways, fixes. They fixed armor rating values not being reducing damage as intended, which probably means, once again, that means that light armor is probably going to be the baseline. What we were playing with prior to them adding armor, fixing the armor, was light armor. Meaning it didn't do anything. And depending on how much it does, depends on basically the value of it now. So the baseline we were playing at, another reason I think Diff 9 is now the new Diff 6 or 7, is because in addition to the bugs being less aggressive, then toning down the AoEs, the aggression of the bugs especially being important, number of spawns, although that's still up there, which is important, by the way. The number of spawns makes things feel epic. It's one of the big things that really makes the game feel enjoyable. In addition to that, the damage you were taking with light armor was basically no armor, and that's probably where it is, if there's any change at all. So that's probably going to be the baseline. So light armor is basically where you were prior to the patch, and now the heavier armor is actually reduced damage, which of course is going to make things easier depending on what you're playing at. We knew about that. Fix certain bug holes, include stalker nests that were unnecessarily hard to destroy. They weren't unnecessarily hard to destroy. The grenade just fell at the bottom of the stalker nest. You could hear it explode but do nothing. And then you have to blow up with an airstrike, which actually worked every time I did it, but that doesn't always work, so yeah. Encountered that bug. I don't have a PS5. Balanced lighting across all plants and self-cases where the game was too dark. They just made lighting off. Like I said, they had a lighting balancing pass. I think it was on Tuesday. It's not just making it too dark. It's just they improved the lighting in general. Improved flashlight efficacy. I don't know what that means. It's very vague. I turn off flashlights because it makes everything look like shit. Because it basically causes a haze effect that makes everything darker. And it's post-processing HDR effect. Not HDR your monitor, but the effect that tries to make things darker than they actually are, or brighter than they actually are, to give you the impression. I fucking hate post-processing with a passion, by the way. It makes everything brighter or dark. So if you come out of a cave, it makes the game brighter for like half a second before it gets to normal levels, right? Or if you go into a cave, you can't see anything for half a second. But if HDR is fucked up, it can really make games look like shit. Probably the prime example I used to joke about with my friends is Morrowind Oblivion. Yeah, back in like 2004, I think it was. Yeah, it had way overdone HDR to the point at which a lot of places just look like you're on the fucking surface of the sun. Everything's just like steamy. Yeah, fucking terrible. Like I said, post-processing, I fucking hate post-processing. Except for some really weird cases like distortion on vents, for instance. A volcanic vent makes sense, but a lot of them are just caked on to try to make your eyes do what they already do anyways. I've had a huge discussion about that before. It's like fake. It's a fake way of making things look good too. Just apply blur to everything to make it so you can't tell that the game looks like shit. Yeah. Updated tutorial material and lighting. Yeah, lots of lighting updates. Lighting is very good, as I mentioned yesterday, and we talked about the beginning of the stream. They changed lighting drastically Tuesday, not even today's patch. This was changed prior. They've been doing lighting changes since Tuesday, I think. Monday, Tuesday. Improved cases where some materials could look blurry if lighting graphic settings was set to low. Yeah, the squares when we're playing with the 2080. Hey, fucking Lars just watching my stream, guys. Lars is 100%. He has a notepad out, he's just watching my stream, and then he turns it off when I start bitching about like their streamer game dev mode. their streamer diff. It turns off my stream when I start talking about streamer diff. Yeah. Fixed timing issues that could occur if extract E710 objective. I don't know what this is. Fixed button interaction for buttons and bunker POIs. Helldivers now let go of the button after holding it for a few seconds. I believe this is where you can immediately let go when it turns green. Fixed case of large assets floating if the ground beneath them was blown up. This happens at radio towers. I've seen this before. Helldivers standing next to ICBM during launch will get properly toasty with the chances of not so spontaneous combustion. I was hoping they would do this. Ever since I didn't, like it wasn't there. When it lifts off, it's like, that doesn't seem right. Yeah, oh, I can't wait. This is going to be fantastic. I wonder how close you can get. You have to be away from it. It makes sense, guys. If you're close to a rocket launch, you are literally dead. Your eardrums are popped. You're a toasty critter. So it would make sense in the game, right? Fixed unthrowable snowballs after ragdolling. Fixed being able to use grenades after drowning. Camera no longer locked on player's cold corpse and blocking spectator mode. That's good. This is a quality of life fix that's actually pretty big because you spend time when there's nothing left just doing nothing because you can't look at people. Helldivers now take damage from fire gas, etc. generated by other players. You did already. Any proper damage. Armor no longer stretches when dismembered. They missed one. Maybe not, let's see. Picking up items from caches may cause characters to freeze in place for an extended period of time. Ah, here's one. We had this happen a couple times, and yeah, we had our sample. We lost our sample because I picked them up too fast, yeah. It doesn't always happen, but it definitely happened in that one case. Picking up items from bunkers and caches in quick succession may render one of the items unpickupable. It's just picking up stuff in general. Players can unfriend other players via code. Yep. Alright, so yeah, a lot of these I've encountered myself, so it's good they're fixing them. Normally it bugs, like when it comes to a Blizzard game or like stuff that you can't see. Also, I wish there was a light mode. I fucking hate dark modes. Dark modes are what you use, guys, if you don't properly turn down, the brightness on your monitor. Speaking of which, I probably should change it on this one. Fucking hate dark modes. And this, no. There we go. Sort of toned down light. There we go. All right. So some things here we're going to cover. I know this is kind of the meaty bits here, which is the things that everyone are interested in. But sometimes you get bits here that actually lead into this, which is what we covered already. Breaker, decreased magazine size from 16 to 13, increased recoil from 30 to 55. Yes, so it's more difficult to use, but should not drastically reduce damage. But you're going to miss those 3 shots. Punisher. Is Punisher the default shotgun? I don't know the names of shit. They really need a Helldivers 2 wiki. I believe the SG-8 is the first shotgun you get. I don't know the names of the guns. I know what they do. I know where they're positioned in the list-ish. I don't know names. Slugger I know because he uses slugs. Tick now? What's with my hand going on there? I have a tick. Yeah, so this is a basic shotgun, which is pretty shit. Increased total capacity from 40 to 60, very needed. Increased stagger force, increased damage from 40 to 45 per bullet. I wonder if they made it too much like the Slugger now. It sounds like they're making it more like the Slugger. Punisher is also hand-loaded, but does not have the stagger or didn't have the stagger or penetration that the Slugger has. That'll be interesting to try out. It might just be better than the Slugger now. The Breaker Spray and Pray. Absolutely fucking terrible shotgun, by the way. Increased armor penetration, it desperately needed it. It couldn't do fucking anything against any bugs. Increased fire rate from 300 to 330. Increased pellets from 12 to 16 per shot. Decreased mag size from 32 to 26. This will be interesting to see if this has changed at all. Railgun decreased armor penetration in safe mode. Weird. Only in safe mode. Increased damage against durable enemy parts. Once again, like when you use the railgun in unsafe mode, in addition to you blowing up with it, it takes so long to fucking charge that thing to get to the higher levels. It's like 3 times as long. So it goes to 100%. Then like when you charge from 100 to let's say 200%, this takes 2 seconds where this took 1 second. Decreased damage against durable enemy parts. I think that's just in general sharding stuff off. I don't know. That might actually be a big change. We'll see. They want more people to explode while using it, apparently. That being said, it also takes longer to charge past safe, so. Flamethrower increased damage per second by 50%. The big problem, I mean, that matters. The big problem with the flamethrower was the fact that you go into, it has a warm-up and a cooldown on the gun itself. So when you try to use it, I don't know if they've changed this yet, when you tried using the flamethrower, you take a little bit to warm it up and take a little bit to cool off, and that gets you hit. So I don't know if they changed that, but that actually matters more than the damage does, is this warm-up and cooldown period when you push the button before it fires, and when you let go of the button, you can start moving at normal speed. And obviously moving too slow when it's actually happening. matters even more than the damage does is when you get fucked by it because you can't move. Laser cannon, increased damage against durable enemy parts, increased armor penetration, improved ergonomics, all good things. With the laser cannon I mentioned before, when using it, they probably, instead of making it a stat stick, which is what they sound like to change, once again, straight damage numbers. Armor pen is very much on par with just straight damage numbers, but it's better. The problem with the laser cannon when using it was, or not the problem, one of the ways I wish they balanced it was made it so the longer you're on target, the more damage it does. So it has a ramp up, which would actually be kind of cool, especially if you can make it based on positioning, so you have to drill the same spot, much like a laser in real life. You have to drill the same spot. They could even add an effect where it looks like it superheats the area, right? If they can program that. Make an effect where it superheats the area so you can see where it's basically trying to punch through. Would be actually be very cool, and a visual indicator would be very satisfying. But instead they just straight buff the damage to it, which, you know, does work, but would have been better. Shield generated backpack, we talked about ways of balancing this. Once again, instead of attacking delay before recharging or the health pool, which they attacked the delay before recharging, it would have been nice if the shield backpack would allow melee attacks to go through, but not ranged attacks. In addition to that, does not prevent CC, and they could add that and tack it on to the ballistic shield instead, anti-CC, which would differentiate even more. Against the Zerg, it was legitimately, it's like an additional 200% HP pool, which is insane. A lot of the stratagems are bad. The orbitals especially are pretty bad. When either the corrosive or the barrage is off target, it goes from mediocre or decent to shit. Like absolutely shit. Doesn't even do anything. Waste of a slot. HEs and 380s are basically useless. The walking barrage is also pretty useless because it doesn't even hit where you want it to, or anywhere close. Doesn't seem like it hits anywhere close to where you want it to. 120, increased duration of bombardment, decreased spread, very important because that's one of the things that made it so it wasn't actually working properly. Precision, there's a lot of stratagems that need to be reworked. One guy was in the chat actually earlier asking what I want, like what needed to be rebalanced, and I said we should make a video on it, but you'd have to, like, it was in the middle of a game, you'd have to basically look at the list and go through the list, and you could talk about different things that all need to be addressed here. The 380 is so all over the place. I mean, in addition, I think maybe the 380 guys, the 380, instead of making it where they decrease the spread to make it more precision, they should have just doubled the number of strikes and the speed at which they strike. And I think that would have been a fantastic change to the 380. It's just wanton destruction, which is kind of what it goes for anyways. So instead of increased duration of the bombardment, rather you just increase the veracity of the bombardment, and, you know, if there's teammates in it, they're dead. That's just the way it is. They're just dead. So it'd be something you can more depend on to actually do its job, but at the same time, it's also something, and it would be fantastic to watch, by the way, but also at the same time, it'd be something that, you know, would be kind of, yeah, still have positions where you can't use it, because it would kill legitimately everything, so, I don't know. Good morning, Cuphead. Yeah. Now, you told me, yeah, you mentioned that yesterday, Dune. You mentioned Dune yesterday. I have not seen Dune yet. We'll see. One of the things I don't like about Dune is the main character. Like, I like Dune the movie, or Dune, the IP, but the main character is just like this little bitch boy. Does not do it for me. You think about someone leading an army and it's just like a kid that looks like he's emo. It's not. Yeah. The original movies had better main actors, in my opinion. That's kind of the trend right now, is to make everything femboy, so. Anyways. It's probably a good movie, though. Like, that was probably my main criticism with the first one, was just like a little fucking kid. Just emo fuckboy. But otherwise, a good movie. I haven't watched the second one. But yeah, with the 380 guys, yeah, I think they should actually, I don't know, maybe it would make it too good then if it just deletes an area, right? But you could probably offset that with number of charges, like the orbital laser has number of charges right per match. There's ways you could balance it out. But that would actually be just legit fucking fantastic if they just, like, doubled the number of bombs that drop, and not the duration, but rather the speed at which they drop, and just cake the whole area. And then, of course, people that blow up their entire team would get properly criticized and chastised in their groups, I'm sure. Or booted. Yeah, I think they could have made this better. And once again, it blends. There's almost categories of weapons because, well, I do use orbital like barrage constantly. I've talked about where the trade-off between the Eagle airstrike and the Eagle cluster bomb is. I tend to use the airstrike because it's more concentrated damage in a smaller area, which then lends itself for blowing up chargers, which are a big deal, right? Where the cluster bomb is a bigger area and more charges, but it's more likely to not only hit your teammates, but then leaves like the medium-sized units relatively untouched, depending on where they are. But yeah, like you could categorize weapons where you got something that's very precise, like a railgun or a precision strike, and you want something where it's up all the time. In the case of precision strike, maybe more medium-oriented or armor pens, much in the same way you do with weapons. And then you have more wanton destruction that's kind of fun to use, like a 500 kg, where people are constantly using 500 kgs on top of Bile Titans and sitting there baiting them. Probably shouldn't be a thing. If it's supposed to be this huge fucking bomb and... If it's supposed to be this huge fucking bomb and the kids have streamer mode on, or streamer difficulty on, and it legitimately lands like right next to them, and does no damage to them and knocks them down, putting aside this guy probably has streamer mode on or streamer difficulty on, unbeknownst to him, by the way. Unbeknownst to him, nothing to do with him. Yeah. And they even go, how'd you survive that? I don't know how I survived that. Yeah. Because they probably have a streamer difficulty in the game. Putting that aside, if it's 500 kg should be what it does, which is like almost like a mini nuke, right? But at the same time, you shouldn't be able to just do what that guy did, which is something to do with the silly streamer difficulty they have set up in the game, which we covered yesterday. And while I was off because I didn't know that the shield backpack protects you against CC from the Zerg, but does not protect you against CC from the automatons. I know about the automatons, but I thought that applied to the Zerg too, and it doesn't. It protects you against CC against the automatons. But we've watched him get staked, and he's perfectly fine. We've watched him get 500 kg'd multiple times. He's perfectly fine. Baru as well. Yeah. But anyways, also don't always get hit by chargers properly for some strange reason, regardless of shield pack. But yeah, you could classify bombs into certain categories or weapons into certain categories, and even though a 380 could just, like, you know, turn an area into a parking lot, you know, like a wet dream for democracy, turn an area into a parking lot, maybe you only have a couple charges you can use per map. You could do other things to offset it too. You know, obviously if people will kill their teammates, it's going to irk people, and they're going to go, hey, you shouldn't do that. But there's ways to offset it, and not just making everything tighter and smaller, even though usually you like that. 120 is different. 380 is just wanton damage, right? The walking barrage was supposed to be a little bit more focused or something. I still don't know how the walking barrage really plays into things. It doesn't really... I don't know how it picks which direction it goes. I don't know how it picks directions it goes. I don't really understand that, but it does. But then you have really big effects like a 380 or a cluster bomb or a 500 kg, right? And actually, I'd still classify a cluster bomb as kind of like a medium-sized weapon, right? And in terms of airstrikes, medium-sized weapon. But you have a 500 kg, you have the 380. Even a walking might be a little bit between an orbital and a 380 in terms of damage or a wanton destruction it's creating. But the 380, I think they went the wrong direction with this. They shouldn't have decreased the spread. They should have just made it more. They should have made more. They should have do more in the time it's allocated. Yeah, just make it just cake everything. Yeah, that'd be great. And then figure out how to balance it in terms of power level. Don't turn everything into an Eagle airstrike, because Eagle airstrike is generally the best thing you can use in the game right now. That's also something with the case of meta, guys. Meta works in multiple different ways. One of which is obviously it just being the best and being unbalanced because it's the jack of all trades, ace of none. The other problem that you have to look out for is it will cannibalize your other niches in the game. Meaning, you know it's good at something. Morning, Slain. You're oinking. Oh my god. What a pig, Slain. In addition to like the just being good at everything, is you have a weapon that now looks good on the outside, and then you want to make everything be what it is because you know that works well, right? when you need to find other ways that work well in different ways so that you have a differentiated terms of game. Like I mentioned before, guys, game balance is one of these weird things that really matters in your game. It really, really, really fucking matters because it's how people play the game and what makes it engaging. It matters more than anything else in the game. Well, within reason. Anything else in the game. Because if you have a meta, you have 3 weapons people are using, shield breaker, railgun, shield backpack. You have 3 things people are using, then, you know, there's not only a bunch of lost assets in terms of time, money you spent on them, just to develop them. The concept you can no longer use because you're duplicating the concept. Yeah. It's fucking weird. If you don't have things balanced, it really just ruins, it detracts from your game. And also, in addition to meta just being jack of all trades, ace of none, is it homogenizes, I think is the term. It makes everything like everything else. It homogenizes your stuff. And all of a sudden, you have a 380, which is supposed to be wanton destruction, and you're like, you know, now let's make it more like an Eagle Airstrike. But then you have Eagle Airstrikes that are just called different things, right? It's a little bit, maybe I'm overestimating, or overemphasizing the changes they did to it. Maybe you'll be fine, but this kind of looks like what they're doing is they're just, hey, let's make these Eagle Airstrikes, and they shouldn't be, right? Anyways, good start, and as is the case here, and as I would expect, never-ending series of balancing changes. This is very important. And then even then, when everything's balanced, is sometimes you have to shake things up a bit. You know, you have to take your snow globe and go like one of those things, which they just did in Overwatch 2. Sometimes, you know, not necessarily in a good way, but, you know, definitely something you can do. You just shake that snow globe, right? So, we'll see. This is going to be good. We're not going to make a post here. Stuff on, just like I don't post on their Discord, stuff in their Reddits just gets buried. You have to be, in order to trend on Reddit, you have to basically post on it almost immediately. And if it's something where everyone's just screaming into the void, which is the case with balancing patches, it just gets lost anyway, so there's no point in actually posting on it. 2 hours ago, so it'd actually be a good place to post on it. Like I said, the laser cannon, some of these they could have done in a different way. Flamethrower, getting rid of the ramp up, ramp down, where you get stuck in the animation before you can actually use it and after you can use it. Those are probably the biggest downsides. And then the movement penalty. Not just the damage, it's the wind up and wind down of the weapon, it gets you killed. Railgun, once again, I'm not exactly sure how this will turn out, we'll see. More people are going to explode, so that's good. Spray and Pray will be interesting to use. Punisher, we'll probably try and flip between the Slugger and the Punisher. Breaker, maybe we'll touch the Breaker to see how much is nerfed. Laser Cannon, as mentioned before, I really think is a missed opportunity where they could have made it where it ramps up damage if you're aiming at the same spot. And then make like a hot spot where you're aiming on it. And then you have to keep hitting that hot spot and it ramps up, like logarithmically ramps up the damage. Lots of ways they could have done it to make it better. But first round, guys. Good start to things. Lots of bug fixes that are very important, especially I mean, armor is going to be interesting to play with. Especially the one where you can't view people that when you're dead. The fix, or is it a known issue? There it is. Camera no longer locked on player's own corpse and blocking spectator mode. Yeah. By the way, actually, I think you should be able to, when you're tabbing through the bodies, you should be able to go back to your own corpse, because it allows you to see what's there when you try to drop in. That might be too much meta information, I don't know, it depends on what they want to do. But it would be nice if you could look at your own corpse by going through the cameras of players, so you can see your dead body and where it is. But depends on whether or not they want to do that. Good. Otherwise, good, guys. We're going to play some Helldivers 2 here in a sec. We're probably also, because of the way the game is rebalanced, I'm going to quickly check to see if that's an SMT tweak or what's going on there. We'll see in game too. And probably, we'll probably play a mission first to see what's going on. See whether or not the performance is now tried to cap at like 50% utilization, which is 100% your processor, if you have SMT on for the most part, or hyperthreading. I don't know. Because C-Max wasn't maxed out, my GPU wasn't maxed out, and my CPU in general wasn't maxed out, so...